Hello and welcome to my space. This is Sherry Pluskota and this is my co-host Brian, otherwise known as Software Brian. How you doing, pal?
I'm good. How are you, Sherry?
I am doing well, thank you. I thought maybe we could chat for a few minutes while we wait for Kevin to arrive. Hey, Jonathan. Hey, Blue.
I thought I saw him and then he disappeared.
Oh, he might be having issues, so we'll give him a few minutes to get in here. And until then, we can just chat. How's your work week going, bud?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah. How
You
about you?
honing? It's going well, thank you. Are you honing in on your schedule for this summer?
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the large field events I think I'll be at, hopefully.
Okay.
I, I haven't settled on my travel plans as far as where I'm staying. Used to be a lot easier with the house there.
All
But
right.
now I got to figure
Yes.
out like how do I afford the tournament and a place to stay? So
Right. I hear you. Well, I'm sure, like last year, you'll be coming and going, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
it's interesting. Yeah, there's a stretch there that there's probably like a 3 week stretch that almost every day there's something I want to play, but I don't know. I probably won't do that. So
Okay. So, in other words, when you're looking at the schedule, you are saying that you possibly could be there for 3 weeks, but you're hopefully choosing not to be.
well, yeah. There's other important things, Sherry. My daughter walked in the other day. She said, "I want these." I don't know the name of them. There's some kind of dance shoe. I don't know. And then I'm like, "Well, where do they make them?" And she's like, "In New York." And I'm like, "Okay, well, let's go pick them up." She's like, "Really?" So we're gonna go to New York and pick up some shoes.
Well, of
Uh,
course, that's what you
uh,
do.
that's how crazy I am. Um,
I
so
love
yeah,
that. I love that. Nothing better than a daughter dad trip.
yeah, we're gonna go see. What are we seeing? I can't remember this play. She wanted to see. Definitely. I want to see Back to the Future, so we're gonna see that.
Okay.
But she that was for me.
So when is that
Um,
trip gonna be?
in the next month or so, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Very
What
good.
is it? What is the show? I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know. I'm looking here and I'm thinking I'm going to see it, but I don't see it. So anyway, I don't know. She was all excited.
Well, that's awesome. I'm just going to go ahead and do our house cleaning now and give a little shout out to our sponsor, Elevated Results. Many thanks to them for their continued support of our space. If you need a tailor made workout program due to injuries, health, or otherwise, Elevated Results can help you lose weight or gain weight. Check out their Twitter account or their webpage at elevatorresultspt.com. Please give them a follow. They've been with us since almost day one.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Yeah. So how's your week going? Are you back in Atlanta or?
Oh no, I don't go back to Atlanta till July. So I'm here in Washington until I go to the WSOP, and then I'll go from the WSOP to Atlanta.
All right.
So yeah, we're just under 4 weeks from for the baby's arrival. So, but let me tell you a little story. So yesterday, the proud parents to be had to start their um, Lamaze birthing classes via Zoom yesterday afternoon. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be comic relief for me, right? So gather the popcorn and let's watch and listen. So the instructor is telling the dad to be, make sure you're talking to the baby in the womb so the baby will recognize you when she's born and your voice and whatever. And then she said to mommy to be, and you may want to sing to the baby several times a day and make sure you're singing the same song each time because when the baby's born, she's going to recognize your voice in that song. It'll be very soothing, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, I start to think to myself, now any song is going to soothe, right? Like that's my train of thought. Like it doesn't have to be the same song, does it? Is what I'm starting to think to myself. And I don't even get through the entire thought. And my daughter breaks out in song. And the song was My Milkshake Brings All the Boys to the Yard. Because she thinks that's a good song to sing it to the baby in the womb. Well, let me tell you, we couldn't recompose ourselves after that rendition for sure.
That's funny.
It was hilarious.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. I've got to move
I
upstairs. So, Brian, talk to me while I.
talk to you while you're moving upstairs.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't know. What am I supposed to talk about here? The World Series of Poker. Where to eat? How's that? Is that a good thing to talk about?
Yes.
I took Sherry and Donna to a place called Musashi when we were up there in December. And Musashi's this kind of like Benihana's place. And a lot of poker players go there. You'll see like everybody on the wall, pictures. Everybody except for me because I'm nobody. But yeah, and then the owner, you got to book with the owner, Tiger. And Tiger cooks it up like, oh, man. Everybody else there, the other tables with the other chefs, they're all looking at you like, what's the deal? Are these people like VIPs or what? Because he is just throwing down. He cooks up like 5 different sauces on the grill and just throws down just some awesome food. And you'll never want to go back to like Benihana's or any of those places ever again because they suck comparatively.
Well, and
To
Brian, it's going to be
Musashi.
my treat when we go back this summer. And I'm going to tell you, I love hibachi cooked food. And that was the
Yeah.
best I've ever had. It was delicious. And Tiger, I'm sorry, I ran up the stairs. And Tiger made all the sauces that you
Yeah.
use homemade right there at the table, right in front of you. And they were fabulous.
Yeah, and like the cool thing is like if I don't know if any well, I don't know if you guys ordered or whatever, but like I know with the salmon and chicken, especially, he's like, okay, how do you want it? And you're like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I can do it this way or that way. He's got like 50,000 different ways. It's like then we can fine tune that a little hot and sweet with a kick. Do you want the kick to be lasting or just kind of come and go? You know, but the funny story there, I don't know if I told you this, Sherry, but it's kind of like a lot of bachelor parties go in there and stuff like that, and we would bring our kids in there. It's really not appropriate for the kids, but we would cover their eyes. And so like I brought my pastor in there and one of the other guys that works at the church too. And I told Tiger, I go, Tiger, we need the clean version, please. And he's like, ha, 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 I got you. And I'm like, no, Tiger, really? Like, I need the clean. Ha, 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 I got you, Brian. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to let him go. So I let him go for about 15 minutes before I told Tiger, this is my pastor, by the way, Tiger. So
I'm sure he loved that because he is a great sport. So I'm sure he got a kick out of that. Well, I've seen our special guest has joined us. Hey, Kevin. Kevin, are you there, bud? I cannot hear you. Can you hear him software?
I cannot know. Are you maybe you're on a desktop, Kev? If you're on a desktop, sometimes that's been a problem, but I'm on a desktop, so I think they fixed that. But we've seen that be a problem.
You may
Maybe your
want to go.
mic.
Yeah, you may want to go out and come back in, bud.
The thing with the desktop is that if you might not have your stuff configured right, whereas a phone, it's a little easier.
Let's
No,
try
I
that again.
was,
Oh,
I
there
was,
we go.
yeah, I was on, yeah, I was on, I'm on the phone, and I don't know, I was getting like a big delay, so that's my apologies for that.
No problem. How are you, Kev?
Well, to be honest, I've been better, to be fair. Just a couple issues came up that sort of caused me to be late for my own space. So,
Well, it's okay. We don't mind. Believe me, we are not very formal here. We just roll with the punches, and it's not a problem. Believe me.
no, I appreciate that for sure.
Absolutely. Well, let me give you a formal introduction, as they say. Our guest is from Syracuse, New York. He was a writer for Poker News. He currently works for GPI and the WSOP
And Mom.
and Hendemab. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Kevin has a total live earnings over 42,000, with his best live cash being over 7,000 for his second place finish in the Hard Rock Hollywood event number 5, the Poker Showdown in April 2018. Kevin recently started a newsletter called Substack, which we'll get into a little bit later. But first, not only do I want to welcome Kevin again, but I also want him to continue on and tell us how he got started playing poker. Welcome.
Welcome. And yeah, well, there'll be a few corrections a lot. Well, the newsletter I haven't done for a while, unfortunately. But anyways, the more important stuff is how I got started in poker, I guess. So I guess you could say my career in poker started on the late '90s. I'm sure people are listening, if they're old school, they remember a forum. Well, this is before forums. There was news groups, and
Yeah.
rec.gambling.poker was the big
Right.
news group regarding poker related, but basically regarding poker. And you'd see a lot of the really big names, your Negranos, your Andy Duke, your Howard Letters, Chris Ferguson's, et cetera, et cetera. They would be, before 2+2 and Pocket Fives and those forums, uh, RGP was the place to be. So I started there as a lurker, I guess, and from time to time I would sort of answer questions along the way about certain things that I guess I kind of knew a little bit more than the average person, just because I was just looking around the internet for stuff, and then so yeah, that I did. I was doing that for a few years, and then fast forwarding to 2002, that's when the 2+2 forums sort of became they came into existence, and I was a relatively early forum poster there.
Now, tell me, since you've kind of been, you have definitely followed the poker, the distribution, I should say, of poker news, right? Whether it be current or a story via poker news about, somebody's career or current events or whatever. So, how do you feel about the jumps or the progression we've made in disseminating that information?
Well, I mean, it's definitely as we've progressed over the years, the sort of the disseminate distribution of information is definitely greatly improved. Fortunately, and sort of like what my reasons for being kind of involved in poker is to help spread that information to as many people as possible. Being through news groups or 2+2, and then about 15 years ago now, almost it'll be almost 15 years. Be Twitter, and
Right.
it's I mean we sort of seen our periods in poker media when there's been boom and bust periods. Basically we through 2006, and then the UIGEA sort of put a little bit of a kibosh on things, and then things were there was like a speed bump, and then things were rolling along until we just recently celebrated the 13th anniversary of Black Friday earlier this
I
week.
can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah, Yeah, and it's sort of weird because I didn't really start getting paid in my poker career until October of 2000. It was October of 2010. So
Wow.
I had like a good six. That's when I started working at Bluff Magazine the first time, and so that's it was sort of like doing that for about 6 months, and then Black Friday hits, and then it's sort of like I was like worried. What when was is like Bluff going to go out of existence, or it was definitely a very worrying time.
And now I'm going to let software ask you the question he alluded to in a tweet this week. Go ahead, software.
Yeah, I was talking earlier this week. I mean, one of the cool things was, you know, obviously we kind of all knew of you being around the World Series, and everybody would ask you questions, and it was like this unofficial thing. Talk a little bit about how that went from being unofficial to you being the official person there.
Yeah, definitely. It's we'll just say. Sorry, let me back up a bit. So yeah, so I mean, when I was working with Bluff, and it's basically like because people like I would be on Twitter and I would see people asking stuff, and like they couldn't they either had trouble finding information or had just didn't wanted someone else to provide the information for them, and that's sort of like was my unofficial unpaid role basically from the start of my start on Twitter until about 2000, it was 2000, 2015. It was basically, um, especially like during the WSP, because I'm sure people may know the name Seth Polanski. He was the
Right.
person that was sort of doing the media for the WSOP. He did that role until the pandemic. But on Twitter, he's a bit of a prickly personality,
Yeah.
and he would definitely there would be times when it get because people definitely have their issues with the WSOP. Sometimes it's warranted and sometimes it's not, but
Right.
there were definitely times when stuff would get a little off go a little off the rails, so to speak.
So
And
now go ahead.
no, go ahead.
All of us have grown to love you, and the information you provide for us is so valuable on so many levels. And people can tell you that I pump you up all the time because of what you do for us. And I always, say, and Kevin, is uncomfortable when I say this, and he doesn't ask me to say it, but I'm just going to say, if you see the man, tip him a 10, a 20, a hundo, because he's working hard for us and making sure we get the information we need. But I'm going to say, I want to move on to some of the things, we know for the WSOP, you're disseminating the information, keeping us updated, excuse me. Tell us what you do at Hendon Mob, please.
Okay, so my title at Hendon Mob my official title is Poker Information Manager. And the GPI at Hendon Mob, it's a rather small team that we have. It's less than 10 people altogether. And my main duties are basically collecting results and uploading these results so that people um, can see the results appearing on the Hendon Mob. Because the Hendon Mob is the uh, database for live poker tournament results. And it's there was definitely over the years people may remember Poker Pages was definitely the leader in the late '90s, early 2000s, and then as that sort of went by the wayside, as the head mob sort of took over that role. And so like I said, I do results, I add schedules. Actually, there's a big schedule I need to add this evening when I get done with the call here. Aria just announced their Aria Poker Classic series this summer,
Yeah.
so that's a big deal for people to see what's available, and it's sort of something in the 2+ years that I've been working at Head Mob. It's one of the main objectives I try to do is try to get tournament schedules up as soon as I can, because there's people that are definitely playing their schedules. Not just the summer in Vegas, but all the various tournament series that are going on around the world. And I mean, obviously, I'm not the only person that does this. We have, like I said, our team. It's we all have our very specific roles, but I mean, mine's more of the results and scheduling, and others handle sponsorships or other deal with partnerships with the company. But I am the junior member of the team, and I mean I'm probably the most known member, but I mean maybe Eric Danis would probably be more known than me. But he's the president of the Global Poker Index Hendon Mob, so he's my big boss. So I defer to him when needed.
Well, and we all depend on all that information that you're telling us you upload, the schedules, the tournament wins, all of that stuff. And we all depend on it for one reason or another, and we're thankful for it. Tell us if somebody looks at their Hendon Mob profile and they see an error or they don't see a tournament that should be there that isn't. Can you tell uh, the audience what they should do to get those corrections made, please?
Okay, yeah, we have several emails that can that people can use to contact us, and either myself or someone on the team will work our best to get that rectified. That's one is pokerdb at thehendonmob.com. Also results at thehendonmob.com. And there's definitely we try to be as accurate as possible the first time. But there's definitely it's kind of hard when some poker rooms um, are notorious for basically sending results with misspelled names of people known and very well known and not as well known, and it's sort of like there are sometimes be situations where there'll be multiple profiles for the same player, but like let's just say like we'll use you for example, Sherry. Let's say you cash an event at the at South Point, for example, and they use your actual spelling of your name. Maybe if you go somewhere else, they may spell, they may misspell your last name or they misspell your first name, and then if we're not paying close enough attention, sometimes we have to create that. We'll create a second profile, and then you'll be unhappy, and then you'll be firing off emails to us, and then of course we're always glad to correct any mistakes that are in the database as promptly as possible.
And I will say that I emailed about something, I don't know, 2 years ago or something. I think I asked, how do I like change my profile picture? Because I
Hmm.
don't even have one on there. And
Hmm.
I'm going to tell you, I heard back from somebody within a day. I want to say it was very prompt. And I'm going to tell you, it's something I still haven't done. Why? Because there's a million other things in life, and every time I go look at my own profile, I go, "Damn it, I'm supposed to get that picture uploaded." But anyway, that's my own fault. But I will say that they're very prompt in responding. I haven't heard anybody say that they haven't got the help they needed when they emailed with a question or with something that needed to be corrected. So definitely reach out to them, folks, if there's a problem, a question, whatever. They're always happy to help. Go ahead, Brian.
Sure. So, Kev, what's your give us some recommendations for people that it's their first year coming out for the World Series?
Okay, so the first thing I would do is, definitely the most important thing is you're going to need to get your Caesar Rewards card. That's because you're going to need that when you register for the first time for a tournament. You're going to need that card. Or I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, anytime you register for one of the WSP events, you're going to need your player's card because they basically, um, so we can we can enter you in the database and make sure everything's kosher basically. Just because I know there's been issues at times when sometimes names will get crossed up in there as well. But yeah, so first thing is to make sure to get your player's card. Um, Another important thing that to get taken care of is if you know what event you're going to register for, especially if it's going to be an event on the weekends, which are definitely the more popular race events. It's definitely good to do your registration ahead of time. In now it's a relatively new wrinkle this year. Most of the time, registration will be available 24/7. A slight wrinkle this year is they're going to be closing for registration like from around 5 to 6:30 a.m. each day. So I know a lot of people want to get their get stuff taken care of overnight, so there's not lines and you don't have to stand. Because I know what's one of the big things people don't like is to wait in line for anything. And unfortunately, due to the popularity of the WSP, there can be many lengthy lines to register.
Now, I know that you guys added some choice, extra choice this year. Not only can you register in person, excuse me, but you can wire transfer. You can, use a credit card or debit card. And now there's online banking choices through your checking account or savings account. These all three options have fees attached, so don't anybody not know that or be aware of that. But would you like to give us any information on those choices?
Yes. Now it's a little trickier because we don't have the information yet for this year for in regards to registration, but I'll give the details from last year so people can be aware of the options that are available. And like you said, there's of course um, cash, credit card, debit card, online banking, like you said, and then another option that's been popular for players over the past few years. It's called tournament buy-in credit. So it's basically like it's sort of like you basically deposit like a fixed amount of a fixed amount that you want to spend on tournaments, and then let's just say $15,000. You want to enter $15,000 of tournaments. You would go to registration. You can either wire the money or cash or the various methods available. And there is a small fee. So basically, you do that, set up the account, and then you can go online and register for tournaments. And register online for the tournaments, and you can select what event you want to register for. And when you get that done, you'll go to one of the various fast track kiosks that are located around the property at Paris and at Horseshoe. And you swipe this is another reason why you need your player. You need to have your player's card with you because you need to swipe your player's rewards card, or Caesar rewards card for that matter. And you'll see that what should come up is the tournaments that you've registered for. You select that tournament, you hit a button, and then it'll print out all of your tournament receipt. So basically, have your ski assignment. You'll have an actual copy of the tournament. So it'll be like your player's copy, a dealer's copy, and then there's a receipt. Now, it's important to have all three copies because in the past, the third copy is the dealer's copy, and that's what you're going to need to give to the dealer when you sit down at the table, to start play. And it's definitely happened a lot where people think it's just going to be two receipts, and then they leave, and then there's like you'll see like receipts like on top of or some that just throw on the ground or whatever, and then they have to find the floor person, get that rectified so that they can start their tournament.
Awesome. Now I'm going to touch on a couple of things. Um, can you explain um, about, we do win loss records at the end of the year. Can you explain how to get your win loss record for tournament play at the WSOP?
Okay, so with this, it's something I wish a lot more people would use at the end of the WSP because then they ask me, late in the year or around mid-April. So basically, what you do is just it doesn't matter if you register online or not. You go to one of the kiosks, swipe your player rewards card, and what should come up is the option to select your tournament report. And what it'll do is it'll send you an email copy of all the tournaments all the WSP events that you've played this year. And I think it'll include like the buy-in and if you cashed or not, the amount of your payout. So that way you'll have an email copy for your records to give to your accountant or to do if you do your own taxes or however you get that taken care of. And then so that's much easier than contacting someone at the WSP and like in April and you're like trying to file and
Well, and
and
I want to be clear that yes, people, you can go online and print your win loss record for Caesars. It will not include your tournament information, win loss for your tournaments. That's a separate printout that we're talking about. Do it while you're at the WSOP. I don't think many people know that, and that's why they're panicked when it comes tax time, right, Kevin?
Yeah, exactly, and it's definitely something I need to do better myself, and especially towards the end of the series because people as soon as they bust in the main event or whatever event they're playing late in the series, they're going home, and they're not really thinking about doing their taxes, their 2024 taxes at that moment. But it's definitely a good idea to get that taken care of. So at least we have something that you have as proof um, of your tournament buy-ins and wins and losses.
The other
Exactly. Go ahead,
the other
Brian.
thing, Kev, that I think a lot of people don't realize is with the tournament, when you put money into your tournament account, that isn't like an account that you can go and take money out of all the time and things like that. It's basically just kind of withdraw once, right, per year.
Well, I mean, regarding the TBIC, the tournament buy, so it's
Right,
basically just to use it for tournaments. Now, um, people, sometimes people just they can wire money or they can get a safe deposit box.
right,
Um, they have that option as well. But it's not like the TBIC isn't really used as a safe deposit box. It's basically just used to buy into tournaments. So you can't just like take $15,000, put in a TBIC, and then just take out $15,000 and not spend it on tournaments.
right.
That's not the purpose of that particular account.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't really. The first year I was we did it. I was kind of confused by that. At one point, I was thinking, "Well, I'll go get some money out." And he's like, "It's not. It doesn't work like that."
Right? No, it's not. It's not. It's
Sorry.
not. It's not. It's not your. It's not your checking your savings account. No, it's definitely not. That's not the
Now,
purpose of that.
now, the other thing too is you don't have to. There's something with depositing, but as well, right? Like, are you can how does that work as you maybe add money? Isn't there something about that? I know if you're short a little bit, it's fine. You can add on whatever you need to make up the difference. Is there some kind of minimum deposit, I think, or something like that?
I believe when the initial set of the account, I believe it's $1,000, but I'm not 100% certain on that. But you do bring up a
Yeah.
good point. Um, so there is a fee. So there is a $3 fee per tournament if you register using your TBIC account, and that's a fee that Bravo Poker Live charges. So let's say you want to play $15,000 worth of events. It's probably good to deposit $15,100 so you don't run into some issue where you're like $10, you're like $6 short, and you didn't realize it, and then that creates its own little
Yeah,
kerfuffle
you're
issue.
in line for that $3 fee.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
wanting to, and then you're
Well, I
on
mean, I
tilt
think we
and
could.
you don't play very good.
Right. Well, I mean, that would. I mean, we could probably get you to a different office to sort of get that taken care of. But yeah, it's kind of annoying to be short and not realize that, and then you have to go all over the place and to
Figure
get
it out.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I want to go back to, and we're going to get back to Brian's question, but I wanted to touch on these certain items under the registration portion of your list. And the other thing I think of under this is um, people that are coming here from a different country. And I think this has probably got to be your number one question. The tax forms, Kevin. What are we doing about the tax forms?
Yeah, it's been an issue the past couple of years, especially foreign players that if they hadn't had an ITI, I think it's called individual international taxpayer identification number, ITIN. In the in Until the last couple of years, there's always been someone at the WSP that is approved to issue an ITIN, but for whatever reason, there were issues with the person that they were using. I guess didn't get approved. Now, it was thought that this issue would have been resolved last year, but it wasn't, which definitely caused some problems. I mean, I know there's one CPA from Condor CPA. They're they have a booth outside of the Paris tournament area. So, and he and his team can definitely assist foreign players who need an ITIN because, as I'm sure people who aren't aware, if they're in a country that does not have a tax free United States, they and don't have an ITIN, then they're going to lose 30% of their cash. Now
Right.
they will be able to collect, get that reimbursed, but it's
It's a
definitely an annoying
process.
process.
Yeah, it's an annoying process. So, okay, we're going to go back to that list. So, get your player's card.
Hmm.
Pre-registration is definitely the way to go because guess what? You probably won't end up on an alternate list either because you're going to pre-register early. And
Right.
then all of these things with taxes and all this that we just discussed. So, what would be the third item on that list of things to do to prepare to go?
Okay, let's see. So we got the player's card, we got the registration. Um, I mean, I guess one of the good, it sometimes is helpful, especially for new people, is to know where you're actually playing. And as people have known that played last year, there's two
Right.
separate major tournament areas. There's the Paris. Most of the registration is going to be handled in Paris, in the convention center. That's where most of the live registration will take place. So when you get your seat assignment, it'll let you know if you're going to be at Paris or Horseshoe. And actually this year there's going to be a second area in Horseshoe, the Normandy room, where they'll have the daily deep stacks and satellites, and probably a little bit of cash, and overflow of tournaments could be held there. So it's going to be important to actually look,
Mm.
to be sure to read your receipt carefully, because it will tell you where to go. But people assume if they bought in at Paris, they're going to be playing in Paris, and
Right.
that. There's definitely, it's always important to look at your ticket carefully, because it'll say Paris or Horseshoe, and then they're all all the areas, they're color coded. So if you just you go to Paris, you'll see the various it's purple, black, white. I think it's white. I'm trying to remember, white, green, black, purple. But there'll be over each table. There's a color and a number.
And
And if
they're
you just
very clearly marked. I mean, it honestly, the big thing is to know what room you're in, right? Because once you get there, everything
Mhm.
is very well organized and marked clearly, big print, big signs. Um, you just got to look for them.
Right, and it's definitely, yeah, definitely, and you're gonna have to look. It's gonna be over the table. It's sometimes people just seem to think that like each table is gonna have like a number right on the
Right.
table. So I mean, I'm sure anyone who's listening, they've definitely seen table, to have like a little restaurant thing, have like it's sort of like if the table number,
Sure.
but with the WSP they put it over the table because it's probably easier to do it that way because people may want to take signs or switch them around or cause all sorts of chaos.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I would say that that like the big thing is to if you're there, especially for a while, like everybody's always wanting to get together and do things, and it's kind of an odd thing. One thing that I would really encourage people is take those opportunities as they come up and don't plan ahead, because you hear people all the time. They're like, "Hey, yeah, if sure, cool. If I bust out early, then we'll meet up." And it's like don't have that in the back of your head as you're paying like $1,000 to play a poker tournament. Like, take it seriously. Like, it kind of is easy to get into that like, oh, okay, well, it's another day, another tournament. But you know like at best you get these opportunities once a year, and obviously, um it's a blessing just to be there, but I think like focus on the tournaments and things like that, and kind of everything else comes second, and then and then don't be afraid to take days off here and there if you are coming in for more than one event. If you're coming in for one event, like, um, make sure that you have everything kind of straightened out beforehand. Go get registered, or like Kev said, like, um, get your TBIC account set up. So really, if you're only going to play one event, you probably don't end up setting up that account, because it becomes kind of a hassle for just doing one thing. But if you're going to be there for a weekend, like getting in on a Friday and registering Friday night is probably a good idea. And how to talk about that, Kevin? Like, how does that work for people? Are they stuck if they've registered? Then their chips are coming out of play and all that, right? Like, how does that work?
So it's kind of
Or do you know?
it's varied wildly over the years. Now I know there were some years where basically like if you registered before the start of the tournament, your chips were in play right from the start. And then they would change it where like some events, like again the big weekend events, which is you're going to find your more recreational players or the ones who may they're flying in Friday. They're getting in late Friday night to play Saturday, and something happens, and so then it would got to the point where it was basically like if as long as you showed up, your chips would be in the deal as well, and they would not be put into play until you actually showed up, showed your receipt, your ID, and then you would start playing with a full stack of chips. If I remember last year, it was a case where it was basically chips were in play from the very beginning. Now, and that wasn't really announced until like 2 days, like it was like the 2 days before the WSB started. So it was sort of like again, it was sort of like a hybrid. But then they decided they were going to be consistent the entire series, and I would expect when I get into the town that the weekend before, I'm sure they'll want me to disseminate that what their policy is going to be this year in regards to when players'
Right.
chips will be in play. So,
Now, let
you
me
know,
tell you what happened to me last year. So I went to Paris to register um, for the ladies' event. And I walked from Paris over to the horseshoe to the ladies' event, sat down at the table, counted my stack, and I was like, my stack is short. Oh, yeah, we had to blind you out. I said, I just registered and literally walked from there to here and sat down. I didn't even stop to use the ladies' room. Like, I literally came straight here. So is there not a time allotment? This is what I'm asking the dealer. I said, we need to call the floor over because how can I be getting blinded out when I didn't even have enough time to walk over here? Like literally. And so, and I think I was only blinded out the small blind. I mean, it wasn't a lot, but still, it's just the matter of fact, right?
yeah.
And
So
so,
I'm thinking that's in those situations. Usually, what they'll do is if I'm trying to think.
well, I'll tell you what they did. The TD said, "Oh yeah," he said, "Let me go check the timing." And he went and called. He took my receipt and went and called the cage or whatever, and they must have told him, "Oh yeah, she just bought it 4 minutes ago or whatever, however many minutes it was," because he
Mm,
came right back over and gave me a chip and and it wasn't. I think I was like 10 minutes late to the tournament, so it was still the first blind level. So whatever that is,
right.
50, 100 chip, whatever. But I'm just bringing this up because I want the audience to know that it's okay to question stuff like that, right? That it's just an error that took place. It's, it can be handled. We don't have to get upset. We just need to voice, hey, I need to speak to the TD because that really isn't right that I'm getting blinded out because I'm, walking, we all know it's not right, it's not right the next table. It's quite a distance. And so anyway, so that's what happened. So please don't be afraid to question things nicely, of course, and ask for help is my point. So go ahead.
All right. So
Yeah.
if you don't mind me asking, did you register before tournament start or after? Just out of curiosity.
Um Honestly, it was probably right. I can't answer that question
Okay. No,
because
just I'm just curious because I'm what I'm thinking is in this situation like yours, they may have just said they're going to like let's say let's just say you were the 8th seed as
right,
an example. They may have basically said they'll make the announcements that say 1, 5, and 9 are in the well, and then
right,
every other stack is out. So it would just say if you were the 8th seed, then your stack would have been in play. Although there may have been seats there may have been some people who have not purchased any seat, but there may have been like the majority. But again, it's sort of it gets a little tricky if you like
Right.
register like, right around the start.
And honestly, I can't answer that question because, of course, I wasn't paying attention to the time other than I knew I was cutting it close, right?
Right.
So I could have registered 1 minute before it started or 5 minutes after it started. I don't know. I
Yeah.
just know that when I got there, they had blinded me out. And I was like, wait, that can't be right. Because, it's different if I took an hour to get there. Okay, I have no
Right.
problem being blinded out. But I mean, it was literally trying to get there from the cage.
Yeah. No, I understand. It can in for certain events it can certainly get interesting. Where if it's like a few minutes before the tournament starts or a few minutes after, it can cause the issue. So I mean, if you know you're going to be late, it doesn't. You may want to. Let's say you don't want to be there right on time. But
Right,
again, depending on the event. If you're trying to play, if you want, if you're thinking you can register, show up for the Millionaire Maker at 10:10 and get a seat right away, probably not likely.
right, right,
But
right.
so I mean, that's so is one thing is to be what is just plan when you plan. Just plan when you want to be there. If you want to be there early, definitely register early so then you've got your tournament assign, your seat assignment, and then you can go to your table. And you could get, if you show up 5 minutes late, you're getting blind out for that 5 minutes. But
Yeah,
you, and
unfortunately, I couldn't. I don't know. I think oh, I know what it was. We had to go off the strip to meet somebody that was staking us. And that person was late. And so that's why all of us, there was like a group of 8 of us, ended up being late. That's what it was, or cutting it close.
yeah, and especially last year with the issues with the F1 construction on the strip,
Mm.
that would definitely cause its own issues.
Yeah. And we weren't, I don't think any of us that were in that group of 8 were very happy that the meeting was taking place off the strip. Like, why couldn't we just meet at the horseshoe
Mhm.
and figure it out? But anyway, it's okay. All is good and it all worked out. Now, I'm going to throw back a couple of questions that I have for you personally.
Mhm.
Um, ha- I know that you've played in many poker rooms outside of the United States. Which one was your favorite?
Well, it's I'm going to go for the opinion that I don't think many people have, but I think my favorite poker room to play in was King's Resort in Roswell.
Oh, okay, Rasadov.
Yeah, I was there a couple of years. I was sort of doing the same role I did with the WSP during summer. I did that in Rosblop, and it was definitely playing it. If you have been to King's Poker Room or King's Resort in Rosblop, it's the town is it's like less than 1,000 people live in Rosblop, but they have like the owner Leon. He
Yep.
basically built this huge casino. Well, it's a huge. It's one. It's very rare in Europe to have a poker room. Most in Europe, it's basically casino, and then poker is kind of like an afterthought in most places. But at King's, it's a huge poker. It's over. It's like I think it's up to about 200 tables,
Wow.
which is
That that's incredible. And I'm glad you brought that up because some people may or may not know that at the WSOP there is a king's room. Can you explain to those that don't know whatever you know about that coming about and what it's representing or anything you'd like us to know about it, please?
yeah. The King's Lounge. It was at the Rio, and now it's in Paris. It's basically the high stakes cash game area. And it's definitely if you've been in Paris and go all the way towards the back, you'll see what King's Lounge looks like. It's definitely much nicer tables. It's a more secluded area. So it's kind of I wouldn't say it kind of leans towards semi-private. It's got it's basically like I think it's 10, 20 and up is where the cash games are for those players that it has a little more benefits. They have like a refreshment area so you can get drinks and snacks, and you don't have to don't have to go to the WSP cafe or elsewhere. They can just get your free coffee, and they'll have you'll have soft drinks, and they'll have you know a, a variety of chips. Sometimes they'll have sandwiches, and it's definitely it's sort of the WSP's. It's sort of like it promotes Kings as well in a sense, because again, at Kings Lounge, it's definitely they have like a ton of tables. They have a private area for the high stakes games in Rosendorf. So it's I guess their way to promote WSP Europe as well. They have this little section in Paris for the high stakes players.
And I'm going to tell you, I know Linda and Janice, so I of course always stop by there to visit them because they always play in there, and it's
They're in there all day.
yeah, it's a very impressive lounge for the high stake players. Even if you don't play those stakes, I highly recommend you just go by and check it out, just because it's just kind of fun to know about. And I think it's how many years have they been doing the King's Lounge?
Let's see. I think it's 6 years.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say.
think yeah, I agree. Somewhere
Yeah,
around there.
yeah, they had a lounge at the Rio first, and again, it was sort of like that. Again, it was in a corner pavilion. And again, it was the same type of setup that they have at Paris. It was based, they even had even a more exclusive one. Like they would have a more exclusive room. I think it was called Leon's room, and that was like where the ultra high stakes games would be held for anyone that was interested in playing much higher stakes. And
Nosebleeds.
nosebleed is an example.
Nosebleeds. Okay, I've got one more personal question on software. I'm going to let you go for it. We know that you're part of the wrecking crew. Tell us what topics of poker do you coach?
Well, to be honest, I guess with the team at Rec.Poker, Jim Reed, he's one of the chief poobahs there at Rec.Poker, and he gave me an honorary membership into the Wrecking Crew. Now, I personally don't do any sort of coaching. I'm sort of more like more like the information guy. So I mean, I did a podcast with them right when the WSP schedule was launched mid-February, and I'll be back on the podcast early May, and it's just basically to update people on what's going on at the WSP, information that they need to know, sort of like the stuff that we're talking about here in this space.
Awesome. I
So
just wanted to make sure, because we had Jim on last week, and so I just wanted to make sure we gave him and you and that affiliation a little bit of a shout out. Go ahead, Brian.
I'll unmute here first. I don't know how many times I'm going to do that, Sherry. What's your advice like as far as places to eat, breaks, things like that? What do you think, Kev?
Well,
for that?
I mean, I guess one of the big issues that WSP that they have is, the dining options is kind of it could for some it leaves a bit to be desired. With the Horseshoe, they do have a food court downstairs. People like Subway, Giant Rockets, Sparrow, Giant Rockets, Subway. There's Nathan's Hot Dogs. It's sort of like your quick service type of food. Um, something if they want something a little bit nicer, then the Parasite's probably better. I mean, if you're going to plan like what you probably should do, if there's a group, if there's like someone who's not playing, it's probably best for them to get the reservation, and then if you're go on their break, is to meet up with them at that place, like the Bedford, the Martha Stewart
Yeah.
place, the various restaurants at Paris. I would definitely say if there's at least have one non-playing person to get the reservation and the table, because you're going to have a 60 to 75 minute dinner break. So you want to sort of like get your stuff ordered, and then make eat, do what you got to do, and then get back to the table. You don't want to you don't want to miss hands after dinner break for sure.
Yeah, that's the tough part. The blinds are getting up there, and now you're coming back in a lot of trouble. Yeah, one thing I did. So there are they cutting them back to 60 minutes or 60 to 75, or did they do that last year? I can't remember.
Well, like the day twos are definitely a 60-minute dinner break. Day
Right,
ones, you see 75, maybe up to 90 for some events. But
right,
day
okay.
are usually 60.
So one thing that I did that actually worked was kind of what you're saying. It's really, really good that you said that. It brought to my memory. My daughter was in town, so you and we all sat and talked. I think, but I had her go get a table,
Mm-hmm.
and and at one of the hotels just off the monorail, right? So like you're
Mm-hmm.
not just limited to those right there. It's kind of easy to go jump on the monorail. You might waste 10, 15 minutes of your break each way, but if like she ordered for us
Mm-hmm.
about 10 minutes after we got off. And so when I sat down, say 20 minutes later, the food was there. I
Mm-hmm.
was eating and then heading back. So because I'll say, like, no matter what, right, there's things to find to eat there,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. But if you're there the whole time, you're gonna get really tired of that food. So you're gonna
Yeah,
want to
and
go
yeah, I
find
mean,
something else.
yeah, and I mean, the most convenient is the WSP. In Horseshoe, the WSP Cafe. But
Yeah,
sometimes it's people have their issues. They think it's overpriced or it's not good, and that's why
yeah.
the suggestion that I mentioned, and of course you brought up with you and your daughters are like, it's definitely a better option. Is to plan ahead basically. Get
Right.
someone there, get the table set up in a group, and then you can you can spend a little bit more time eating instead of like worrying about getting there and then you have to run back and so
I
you try to eat in a more relaxed manner.
I think that's the other thing too is, to have a bag with a drink and, some nuts or something, because if you're wound up and you kind of forget to eat or whatever, the last thing you want to be, 3 hours before the end of the day, trying to figure out what to do to get something to eat while you're trying to focus on the game. So having something there handy is, always really good. Even, it's hard to think about, like, at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, what you're going to do at midnight, or something.
Right.
So
No, but that
um,
you do bring up another great idea is that you should I mean, if you want to definitely it's a way to save money as well. Is pack drinks and snacks and all the stuff that you're going to need instead
yeah.
of going to the WSP the cafe or going to the wall no the CVS right outside the Horseshoe or anything like that. Just pack your bag with stuff that you're going to need.
And they obviously have, like, the cocktail servers walking around and stuff that you get a drink from. But I'll tell you, Kevin, like, I never have $1 on me. Like, I don't
Hmm.
even have, I don't, especially with the TBIC. I've never carried cash anyway. I always would, before TBIC, I would, I probably had the safety deposit box with the least amount of cash in it, but I always had a safety deposit box because, there wasn't, I've just always, from the very beginning, you hear these stories about people having problems. So I just never carry any cash with
Hmm.
me. So having those drinks is a good thing to do, if especially for that.
Let me
But
give a little tip here. So when you order a bottle of water when you're at the poker table, ask for two, and you'll get two for your dollar tip. So there you go. There's your tip of the day for getting.
don't don't think they don't know your scam, Sherry.
I'm a good tipper, honey. I actually will give them $2 for two bottles of water. But for those of
Yeah.
you that would rather not, that's okay too.
If
But I'm
you're
gonna
Alan
pivot. Oh,
Kessler, you're probably doing the 2 for 1, I'm betting.
well, I think it's good sense when it's a bottle of water.
Yeah. No, I'm
I'm
just
going to pivot for a minute here, and Kevin, and I'm going to ask you if there's any, and I know it's early, any changes to the Hall of Fame or Player of the Year?
No, actually, no, we haven't. No, there hasn't been a announcement about changes for the Poker Hall of Fame or WC Player of the Year. I know there was a bit of an issue earlier in the year when Phil Hellmuth was suggesting that the online brace events either not count towards WSP Player of the Year or have a reduced value. Now, what's also interesting is there's not been a online bracelet schedule announced yet, which is definitely interesting. Less than 6 weeks out, but it seems like there may be something afoot going on with that. And
Honestly, and my 2 cents, I think they should be ring events online, just like the circuit events. But that's just my 2 cents. If they want to keep it a bracelet, I do think it should be a lesser value, point point wise, than a live tournament. That's just my 2 cents.
yeah, and I think there's a lot of people that agree with that. And because of the ease of being so many online bracelet events. I mean, I can definitely see an issue where if you gave half credit, half award half points, that's probably better. I mean, I think the online player. I mean, not the online. The WSP Player of the Year has been around close to 20 years now, and it's sort of like it was a lot less. It's last year was well over 100 events total that were counted towards Player of the Year. Back in the day it was like 30 to 40. It's fortunately the moneymaker effect has helped create the number of race opportunities, but I think sometimes they do. I guess what I'd say, I don't have an issue with online race events. I just think there may be a few too many. But again, it's the WSP's prerogative to basically do whatever they like to create race events, and that's what they do.
Sherry, do you remember my opinion of these?
As far as player of the year, go ahead.
No, the online bracelets, they all have an asterisk next to them until I
Yes.
win one. Then they're totally legit.
Listen, somebody DM'd me a question, and I'm going to read it just like it's written, because I'm confused by it, but maybe, Kevin, you will understand. The question is, can you ask how he builds relationships with more rooms that aren't there?
I don't know
How
what
I
that
build
means.
relationships with
Okay,
rooms.
so
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
not going to
I
call
don't know
out
what
the
they mean by
person
aren't
that wrote
there.
it, but if you want to send me a little more details, I'll be happy to ask it again because we're a little confused by the question. So no problem. Just DM me again and we'll try to reapproach it. Can you tell us how many times you've played the main event and your best finish, Kevin?
I have played the main event 3 times. I'm trying to remember the years now. 2012, 14, and 15. And my best performance was in 2015, and I actually made day two.
Nice.
Um, and I also had the honor. I did in 2015. I did the shuffle up and deal on day 2B of the main event.
That's
So I was,
amazing.
yeah. And what was funny about that. So the shuffle up and deal was in Brasilia, if people remember the
Yeah.
Rio. So I was on that stage in Brasilia, but my table was in Pavilion. So I had to do the shuffle up and deal, and then I had to run out, run from Brasilia to across the hallway to Pavilion to get to my seat, and they dealt me out. So
Oh,
I didn't even get. But I mean, well, it was. I mean,
quite an
that's
honor.
not really a big deal, but it's like, yeah. But no, I was honored to do the shuffle up and deal, and that was definitely very cool. I just wish they would give me a break and not like and maybe give me a minute to get there.
Right.
But the dealers are doing their job, and most of the dealers that work at the WC, a lot of the unsung heroes, the dealers, and all the tournament staff, they do a great job, and it's definitely a high stress situation at times. There's a lot of customers that are unhappy, and they're doing their best to satisfy the customers, but sometimes it's just not enough for some people.
And we have to, just a little side note to our audience, remember that a lot of them are new and we want them to come back next year when they'll be more experienced, but we have to be patient when they're new. So they want to come back. So we'll get good dealers. So that's my 2 cents on that subject. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I will talk on that a little bit. A lot of these dealers, they're coming in. You might be somebody that comes every day. You're playing the World Series every year. It's just another tournament to you. I don't ever feel like that, but it's always the World Series. But the thing is that maybe they've been watching it on TV. They're oh my gosh, like when they're brand new, they're really wound up, and the last thing that they need is somebody giving them crap right away. It's only going to make things drastically worse. So I've seen it time and time again. They come in kind of like that. They're nervous, and then somebody jumps on them right away, and then everything goes to crap, and you're just miserable for the next whatever. So really try to be nice, support them, like be understanding. Tell them, hey, if you just, I always tell them, if you need anything, just slow down. No big deal. We're not in a hurry here. Like, just take your time. If the last thing you want to do is hurry and whatever, and don't listen to anybody else that's giving you crap. Just
Right on.
it's just a game. We're just here to have fun. They're not putting you at the final table right on the first day. And
I challenge people to piggyback the dealer. So you see the dealer struggling, focus on helping the dealer, right? Oh, that's right. And just compliment them. You're doing that right. Good job. No
well,
worries. Just help them out. It's
and
not that big of a deal.
on the other side of that too, Sherry, you have the people that are totally experienced, and you start helping them, they're going to get pissed.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying, no, I'm talking about somebody that's struggling.
No, I know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, don't piss off the dealer by trying to do their job. Like, there's one
Yeah.
dealer at the table. Let's focus on that. Oh, I love it.
Like, I'll try to help sometimes or whatever. Here, put this in or whatever. Don't touch that. Okay, I won't touch it anymore.
Yeah, we've all seen that happen. It's unfortunate because you're trying to help, right? But it is what it is. All right, now I gotta pick your brain.
Now, can I say something before you move on from that?
Go.
Now, I will say the one thing that I do not go for is the dealer saying anything about the game or what somebody should have done or what they would have done or what a good play that was, or no matter how inexperienced they are. I'm very nice when I say it the first time, but the second time, like, you're going to hear it from me because, you shouldn't, as a dealer, that's the one thing that I'm not okay with, like trying to help the players out with their decisions against me. No, thank you. Stay out of the game.
Of course.
All right, I've had my rant.
We're going to kick him off his soapbox and we're going to move on. And I'm going to ask you, Kevin, if somebody brought this question up earlier this week. Do you know, if not the exact figure, a ballpark figure of what it would cost to rent a booth to bring like your company in there? Like if you wanted to sell something or if you even just wanted to disseminate information or give away something. So
like peach salsa.
No, I'm not working at the WSC.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I'll bring you some, but I'm not. No. Kevin, hit that microphone button.
He disappeared.
He may have, he said he was having some things happen right before he came on. So,
Sherry, hear me out here, though. But
yes.
Some chips and peach salsa, like selling that in the hallway. I mean, you'd probably do better than playing. I mean, certainly you'd do better than I would play.
Well, the problem is getting the salsa to Vegas. Like I have with me, I think I brought 10 jars with me here to Spokane, and who knows how many will be left that I'll actually get to Vegas. My guess is probably 6. And so the first people to hand the $10 over, they're getting the pizza salsa, right? So
Well, and if if your TSA check person sees that, nope, you got to leave that peach salsa with us,
well, first of
right?
all, it has to go into my checked bag, right? So
Yeah.
because it's got some liquid in it, and which is unfortunate because if I could bring it on carry-on, then I could definitely bring more than 10. But
Now,
anyway, it is what it is.
how many times have you gotten there and a jar's been missing from your luggage?
Just once.
Actually, that's funny.
Just once. And I was pissed because
they're in the
it's
back.
in a sealed case from the van
Yeah.
company and it's in the original jar. So there is no reason whatsoever.
This
I
is
don't mind if
great.
you look at it, but really you had to steal a jar of it and you're disgusting people. I mean, there's just no reason. Let's see. I wonder if Kevin's back with us. Kevin, you back with us, bud? I wonder if he's having issues coming in and out of this.
Do you see him up there? Because
I
on
do.
my yeah,
Do
because I
you?
can yeah.
And
So
he's still showing as a speaker. So my guess is his phone rang,
yeah.
but usually it kicks them off from being speaker when that happens. But we'll give him a few more minutes for sure to join
So
us. And
so I have some more advice for the World Series. If it's your first main event and you have a brother who wants to call you at 7 a.m. and wish you good luck, like block his number or something, because you do not need to be wished good luck on your first main event, right? 6 a.m. or what? I think it was 6 a.m., Sherry. Like, who calls somebody at 6 a.m.? Oh my
obviously,
goodness. I
your
could not
brother.
even believe it. I answer the phone and he's like, "Hey, I just wanted to wish you good luck today." I'm like, what did you think I was doing right now? Like, and like, to be honest, this was back in the day during the poker, when the online poker rooms, so they had a big party. I went to this party and like I was like, I'm gonna be good, I'm gonna go back, go to sleep. Left the party at seriously like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I jump in bed and I sat there and stared at the ceiling till like 3 in the morning. It's
Oh,
like,
that's
I'm all
miserable.
wound up, and then I finally fall asleep and bring, like, oh my goodness, I
So
want
I
to
think the
stab you.
moral to this story is to shut off your phone, your ringer and vibrator before you
Yeah.
go to sleep the night before the main event. Because if there's a true emergency, your family will call the hotel or wherever you're at and get a hold of you. Otherwise, anyone else that's trying to get a hold of you can wait until 10 a.m. that day.
So I was playing a tournament once, and my dad called, or not my dad, but somebody called, and unfortunately my parents got in this car wreck, and I'm leading
Oh,
this tournament. And you know what? Like it, but Sherry, here's the thing. My dad was into blackjack, and he
right.
wasn't he wasn't like a guy that was counting cards. He wasn't also like a total degen either. But he always told me, he said, Brian, I was probably like 10. This is like, reminds me of Talladega Nights. If you're not first, you're last, right? He's like, Brian, if you're ever at the table and you're on a roll, you don't get up for anything. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to take dad's advice. I'm going to call, kind of check on him, but
Right.
I'm not leaving this tournament. I'm winning,
Right.
so
Well,
he ended up being
I
okay.
crossed
And
that
he did,
bridge.
by the way, Sherry, he did tell me, he's like, absolutely right. What were you going to do? Were you going to do like a surgery or something? Stay at the table, win the
Right.
tournament.
We had to make that decision one time for my daughter, who was going to play. Very accomplished high school basketball player, and they were playing a huge game. It had big ramifications. And
Right.
right before the game, we found out my dad died.
Oh my goodness.
And so I pulled my boys in, my husband. I was like, okay, what are we going to do? And of course, all of us are like, well, what purpose would it serve? Because she was already on the bus, with the team going to the game. We were getting ready to leave to go to the game in 20 minutes or whatever. So, like, what was going to what's going to
What are you
change?
going to do? Right.
Like, and what
Yeah.
positive is, like, it would be different if he was sick in a hospital and we had to rush to say goodbye, right?
Right.
And that wasn't the case. He had already passed. And so we met as a family. I was like, okay, I'm not making this decision by myself. What are we going to do? And, we talked about it for about a half an hour. And literally got to tip off, right at tip off, because we stayed at home so long trying to figure it out. And I pulled the assistant coach over and I said, look, my dad passed away a little bit ago, and we're not telling Allie till after the game. But I need you to bring her to me personally after the game. She's not to go on the bus. She's not to go visit. She needs to come straight to me because we need to get out of town. I said, so I need you to bring her to me after the game. And he was like, no problem, Miss Pluskota. And that's what we did. We didn't tell her until after the game. And fortunately enough, she had been to visit him a few weeks before that.
Oh, that's nice.
But I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you, it wasn't it wasn't easy to make a decision like that. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't. But anyway, Kevin, are you back with? I don't know. I think we lost him. It shows him as a speaker still. So
He
I think,
disappeared.
yeah, I think we're going to close it down, and we will certainly invite him back. Kevin, Brian and I are going to definitely be doing some WSOP coverage this summer, like we did last summer. Thank you, Merv, and hope you guys join us. And I'm sure we will have Kevin on several times during that period, before that period, because he's always a pleasure, and I'm one of his biggest supporters, if for nothing else. So, any closing words, Brian?
Yeah, just thanks for joining, Kat. I see you over there, and Blue, and everybody else. And we'll see you guys next week.
We appreciate you listening. And if you're playing on the felt, good luck.
See you guys later.